This week, we're off to the Moresh family in Nicaragua for one of the most interesting varietals I think I've found in the last 10 years. So welcome to another episode of In My Mug. It's from home today as I've not been well this week, and when you're not well, you should definitely isolate yourself and stay at home. I have had a negative coronavirus test, but I think I just have a normal flu bug that is for this time of the year. But taking it easy, taking it soft. So I'm having to record this at home. Hope you don't mind. So as I said at the beginning, this week's coffee comes from the Moresh family. It comes from Limoncillo, which is definitely my favourite farm of the family. And it comes from one of my favourite varietals. The varietal is Ethiosar. So Ethiosar is something that has been crossed with other plants and was basically put together by a cousin of the Moresh family called Ricardo. Ricardo is somebody I've got to know over a few visits and generally comes and hangs out with us. He's a really interesting guy. He's really into looking for increasing yields and increasing the hardiness of his coffee plant stock. All the things I think if we own farms, we'd be exactly the same. But he still has that focus on the quality in the cup. It's not like it's just like he could plant Robusta and get big yields and hardy plants, but he's trying to change the way that he does it. And he's not really following the norms as such. This varietal now can be found in Nicaragua, it can be found in El Salvador, it can be found in Bolivia, and it all stems from this work that Ricardo did back in the day. So we're going to go to a little clip of Ricardo talking about the varietal, and then when we come back, Steve will give us the lowdown on the farm.
So my uncle and I started reproducing it more. We have small amount of plantations with this because we only started from 2009.
Yeah.
And remember, it takes 2 years for give you a seed. So from 2013, last year, I started producing, planting more coffee of that. And I'm doing my farm completely on this variety.
So you say you saw a mutation on the farm. What variety was that mutation from?
Yes, that was from Ethiopia and some Sarchimor that has a little bit of Catimor, and then we crossed it back to be a Sarchi to take away the Catimor. So it's got a very small amount of Catimor. I would say maybe 8, 9, 10%. And that's what gives us the resistance to Roya in high production.
Okay.
So we're very excited. That's the Pacamar Amarillo. It started that way also. The Javanica started the same way too.
Yeah.
So we see a particular tree that we really like, and we see all the benefits that it has, the production, resistant, and obviously the cup, and then we get it from there.
And what kind of yield are you getting per manzana?
We're getting 60, 65 up to 70 quintales per manzana.
Wow, I mean that's super high, where you would expect it to be around about 30 to 40. Would that be a normal kind of yield?
It would be a normal, yes.
Yeah.
And with less plants per area. We put 2,800 plants in a manzana, which with Caturra you do up to 4,000 plants. Wow. So you have to fertilize more plants.
Yes.
To get those yields. With 2,900 plants, it's less fertilizer and better yields. Because you can see the bandolas, they're very long. This was planted, I think it was 2010. So it's only a 3 years old tree. See? So we're excited about it, and we're planting that in an altitude anything from 1,000 meters to 800 meters.
Wow.
And that's when we get more affected by the Roya at that area.
Sure, the higher the temperatures, it seems to be that's affecting the rust a lot more, isn't it? And obviously lower is warmer.
Yeah. And then we do from 1,000 meters higher, we do more exotic varieties like Java, Catuay Amarillo, Catuay Rojo, Pacamar Amarillo, and those other varieties.
And obviously I've only cupped two cups of these yesterday, and they cupped amazing. What is the general consensus of opinion on the cup profile of this varietal?
It starts in the farm. We start controlling the quality at the farm.
Yeah.
Try to pick it as the red possible, the mature possible, and we do some selecting before with this pulped.
Right.
So we take the bad out.
Yeah.
It takes us more labor to do it, but it's worth it at the end.
So the history of this coffee has been for many, many years. In fact, as far back as 2007 was the first time that we bought this coffee. Since then, we've bought lots of other coffees from lots of other farms from the Moresh family, but the Limoncillo remains the jewel in the crown, the one that has the real diversity and the real interesting cups. It does washed, pulp natural, some lactic ferments, lots of different process types. This one is a pulped natural, so a little bit more traditional, but still an excellent coffee. And the varietals they have on the farm are wide and huge. So this is where the yellow Pacamara was first found. They also have red Pacamara, they have Bourbon, they have Caturra, they have Ethiosar, they have Java, they have a heap of varietals, all the way through what you can think. And this is just because the Moresh family really like to experiment and really like to try different varietals. It's also really important that this 171 hectare farm has a lot of staff on it. There's a lot of people that live there full time. And around about 70 people are there full time, but there's also a lot of people that come in seasonally. And what they do very much is try to look after their people. People at the very heart of everything that the Moresh family do. So they pay their staff 30% more than the typical minimum wage. They provide free housing for the families who live on the farm. They provide free electricity and running water. The electricity supplied from a hydroelectric pump on one of the 9 waterfalls on the farm. They provide free food for all workers when they're working, so they have almost like a production kitchen going with tortillas every day during the harvest to make sure everybody gets a meal. They have free daycare facilities for the families to use for their children. They provide free healthcare on the farm for the families. And they also employ an on-site teacher that not only teaches the children, but also offers some adult education things as well, which is pretty unusual. I'm not going to talk about the Ethiosar because I think Ricardo's already done a really good job of that. But the Ethiosar is a really good producing plant that gives a really, really interesting cup while being very resistant to things like leaf rust. And they can see up to 40% increase on the production. So the figures, well, it's a Nicaraguan. The nearest town or municipality is Yasica or Matagalpa for the town. It's owned by the Moresh family. It's 171 hectares, of which 109 are coffee. The picking is between December and February, and it is 1,200 metres above sea level, and this is a pulp natural coffee. So let's go join Steve and do the tasting and see what he thinks of the cup. Okay, thank you for that, Ricardo. Thank you for that, virtual Steve. Let's get into this tasting. So, yeah, I thought we could do it outside in the garden, but it's a little bit wet and a little bit grey, but it's still kind of quite nice. And excuse the glasses. They're new glasses that whenever it's bright outside, they change colour and I look like an old Bono or an old George Michael. It's not a good look, is it? But let's get into the coffee. So I think what I love about the pulp naturals, and particularly Nicaraguan coffees, Nicaraguan pulp naturals, is they have that beautiful sweetness to them. They're always added sweetness, and this is no different. This reminds me an awful lot of a Twix. So, you know, like the chocolate bar Twix, of course, well, everybody in the UK does, everybody else. It's like biscuit, caramel covered in chocolate, and it comes in 2 fingers, and they're really delicious. And it reminds me very much of that kind of hot caramel, kind of melting chocolate, has a little bit of an acidity, just a shoulder of green apple, which makes it really interesting. And it's a fantastic coffee. Like, it is one that you can very easily drink and not think too much about. Just enjoy and glug and whap it down. Perfect for Sunday mornings reading the paper. Listen, thank you very much for joining me as always. I'm always amazed that people get to this point, and yeah, thank you for all of the support over many years. It's amazing how many people have watched these videos. But do remember, life is too short for bad coffee.